I was in the middle of a steamy reality show romance with a rising starlet when my ex-wife, the A-list actress, showed up with her own rumored flame. You'd think she'd be busy with her own on-screen partner. But no, she had to announce she was here to win back her husband. So what was the deal with her dragging me into her room in the middle of the night? Everyone knows Isabel Thorne rarely does reality TV. The host began, beaming. So, can you tell us why you chose Heartbeat? I'm here to win back my husband. Isabel's mournful gaze flickered over to me for a split second before she turned back to the camera, her expression shifting into a confident, easy smile. She was a damn good actress, I'll give her that. The show's live chat feed exploded. Wait, what? Did I hear that right? The Isabel Thorne is here to win back her husband. She's playing for keeps. She must mean Caleb Shaw. They probably didn't get enough time together on set, and now they're taking it to the next level. My ship is sailing. From the big screen to real life, this is too sweet. Caleb is literally the only guy worthy of her. Not like that Leo Vance, who's always wearing the same designer brands as her. Total clout chaser. I don't know, I wouldn't call it clout chasing. They're both A-listers. They're bound to overlap on a few high-fashion labels. As the man in question, Leo Vance, who had already been on this show for 2 weeks, I felt a wave of irritation wash over me as I saw my ex-wife's all-too-familiar face. Who knew the surprise new cast members would be her and her on-screen love interest, Caleb Shaw. When we were married, I never saw her. Now that we're divorced, she's like a ghost I can't shake. So much for my new life, my fantasy of having a beautiful woman on each arm. Annoying. The host kept fawning over Isabel, and my patience wore thinner. I leaned over and took a bite of the gelato Maya Reed was offering me. It was silky smooth, sweet, and refreshing, a perfect taste of the good life. A new life with a new beauty. I glanced at Maya, taking in the fresh, youthful scent that seemed to radiate from her. Don't move, Leo, she whispered. There. Maya gently wiped a smudge of gelato from the corner of my mouth, her eyes full of affection. I was vaguely aware that Isabel had seen the whole thing, causing her to miss the host's next question. Isabel? Isabel, can you tell us, what's your ideal type? Isabel's eyes were cold, but a smirk played on her lips. Rebellious. What the hell? Even with several people between us, I felt a familiar chill run down my spine, and I instinctively straightened up. Wow, our queen loves a challenge. She likes a boyfriend who doesn't listen. Ha ha ha. Am I the only one who's flashing back to that scene where she and Caleb were arguing in their movie? The chemistry. Miju. The way he'd just laugh whenever she got mad at him was everything. Is nobody seeing how cute Leo and Maya are in the corner? Feeding each other gelato. Wiping his mouth. Oh my God, my heart. I see it. I'm grinning like an idiot over here. Watching beautiful people fall in love is the best kind of entertainment. After the brief welcome ceremony, the show officially kicked off. It was almost noon, which meant it was time for the cast to make lunch. Maya offered to make me her famous shrimp scampi, and I volunteered to pick some fresh tomatoes from the garden out back. The sun warmed the ripe heirloom tomatoes, making them look even more delicious. I was carefully deciding which ones were destined for my plate when a familiar, fragrant scent drifted up behind me. Fancy seeing you here, Leo. The voice was familiar, and though the greeting was perfectly normal, it sent a shiver down my spine. Isabel, you're picking vegetables, too? I said, quickly tossing a few random tomatoes into my basket and standing up, ready to make a run for it. Leo, I see you picked some very fresh ones. How about you show me what to look for? Isabel smiled, but where the cameras couldn't see, her fingers dug into my wrist, forcing me back down into a squat. With a swift movement, she switched off her own microphone before reaching over and killing mine. So, was the gelato nice and sweet? She whispered, her voice low and sharp. Or did you forget that anything frozen on an empty stomach gives you crippling cramps? I froze. As if on cue, a dull ache started to build in my gut. The beautiful sunlight suddenly felt scorching and hostile. Damn it, she was like a curse. Speak of the devil, and he appears. For Christ's sake, who asked you? Who do you think you are? Isabel's perfect face tightened, a flash of anger and embarrassment in her eyes. Seeing her momentarily speechless made the pain in my stomach feel a little better. You can't control me anymore, I thought. Her long lashes lowered, hiding her expression. I'll make sure you remember who I am, she said softly. I saw a production assistant heading our way, noticing the mic issue. I stood up, clutching my stomach, and made a beeline for the nearest bathroom, not giving the beautiful woman behind me a second glance. We're divorced. I don't give a damn who you are anymore. Back at the dining table, I was happily devouring the shrimp scampi Maya had made for me. The cameras barely lingered on me, instead focusing on the charming and charismatic Caleb Shaw, who was holding court. He was tall, handsome, always smiling, and the star of a recent blockbuster, the perfect leading man type. Not like me. I've been acting since I was a kid, but I'd spent most of my time in off-Broadway plays and indie films. When I did mainstream movies, I was usually the supporting character or the villain. After all these years, I was a respected actor, not a famous one. "Here, Izzy," Caleb said, his voice smooth. "Try the seared scallops I made for you." Seared scallops. I looked up and watched as Isabel gracefully picked one up with her fork and put it in her mouth. So, Caleb knew that was her favorite dish, too. I had made that dish for her countless times. She loved it, so I learned to do it perfectly, deveining the shrimp, peeling them just right, searing them in a hot pan. But more often than not, the meal would go from hot to cold, then get reheated and go cold again, waiting for someone who never came home. In the end, I just throw it in the trash. Lost in thought, I was startled when a glass of iced passion fruit tea appeared at my elbow. It was Maya. "Thanks. He can't drink that." A pleasant voice chimed in at the same time as my thank you. I looked up at the source. Isabel again, of course. Here to stir up trouble. I took a long, defiant gulp of the iced tea before looking back at her. "Why not? A sensitive stomach is better off without cold drinks," she said, her smile as bright and harmless as a summer day. Then another voice, low and smooth, added, "She's right. Cold drinks can be rough on the digestive system." It was Caleb, his eyes sweeping over my face. Maya blushed. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Leo. I wasn't thinking." I shot a look at Isabel, but said nothing. Caleb walked over, holding a cup of hot water with lemon, a smirk on his face. "Leo, looks like you're a hot water with lemon kind of guy." Seriously? Dude, I have hands. What's with the excessive concern for another man?" Still, I thanked him politely. As I did, I glanced at the large screen displaying the live chat. Caleb and Izzy are so in sync. I'm shipping this couple so hard. I felt my eye twitch. First, she was trying to control me, and now her new man was getting in on the act. What was it with these two? Were they both control freaks? After lunch and a short break, it was time for the afternoon activity. Heart to heart, or risk it all. Heart to heart involved couples staring into each other's eyes for 5 minutes while their heart rates were displayed on a giant screen. Risk it all was a series of physical challenges. The women got to choose. I've never liked people prying into my private feelings, so I was relieved when Maya thoughtfully chose risk it all. The first challenge required the men to carry their partner's bridal style across a 50-meter obstacle course. I scooped Maya up like a gentleman and took off, my long legs giving us a clear lead. We were the first to reach the second stage, but when I went to put her down, we hit a snag. Her long hair was tangled in the button of my shirt. I had no idea how it had happened, but every time I moved, she yelped in pain. In my haste to untangle it, I only made the knot tighter. The other team started passing us, leaving us stuck together, heads bowed, trying to work her hair free. Suddenly, a wave of cheers and excited shouts erupted from nearby. I looked up. It was Isabel and Caleb's team. They were playing heart to heart. As they stared deeply into each other's eyes, Isabel's heart rate shot up on the big screen, climbing rapidly from 110 to 160. The live chat scrolled by in a blur, and the other cast members were cheering them on. Thump, thump, thump. The sound of her heartbeat pounded from the speakers, growing louder and louder until it was all I could hear, rattling my nerves. My focus shattered. I fumbled with the knot in her hair, my mind a million miles away. Did she really like him that much? Unsurprisingly, Maya and I came in last. The producer's punishment was that we had to cook dinner for everyone. To make matters worse, the iced drink from earlier had come back to haunt me. My stomach was killing me. Maya saw how much pain I was in and told me to go rest. But I couldn't let her cook for 10 people by herself. I grabbed a small stool and sat nearby, helping with the easy tasks like chopping vegetables and peeling garlic. Suddenly, that familiar, fragrant scent filled the air, and a warm, small hand touched my forehead. "Go rest. Maya and I have got this." I looked up. It was Isabel. She pressed a glass of hot water and a box of stomach medicine into my hands and shooed me out of the kitchen. With someone there to help Maya, I felt a little better. I collapsed on the couch and took the medicine. It started to work almost immediately. I was surprised she even remembered the brand I always used. After a few minutes, I glanced toward the kitchen. I saw a familiar silhouette at the stove, expertly flipping food in a wok amidst the steam and smoke. The sight felt strangely distant, like a memory from a lifetime ago. It had been a very, very long time since I'd seen her like that. When we first got married, we used to cook together all the time. Back then, we were just two nobodies in the industry. We had all the time in the world to get to know each other, to learn how to be husband and wife. My mom was a professor at a prestigious drama school, and Isabel had been her star student. When my mother was on her deathbed, she placed Isabel's hand in mine. I wanted to honor her last wish, and Isabel didn't refuse. After the wedding, we tried to be a normal couple. We cooked, did dishes, laundry, mopped the floors. I let myself believe that she must have had some feelings for me. Otherwise, she wouldn't have agreed to marry me. But then she started spending months away from home, and that little fantasy of mine shattered. At first, I told myself it was okay. She was a huge star now, so she was busy. I could be the one to take care of our home. So I stepped back from the cutthroat world of Hollywood and focused on theater. At least that way, I could be home after work, making a hot meal for her return. But eventually, after 3 years of waiting, I had to face reality. Izzy, you're cooking? Let me help. A low voice pulled me from my thoughts. Caleb had appeared at Isabel's side, leaning in to ask what he could do. Isabel looked up at him, her face softened by the steam rising from the pan. In the hazy kitchen light, she almost looked tender. A sour feeling churned in my stomach. Why did it still bother me? We were divorced. I turned away from the kitchen and focused on the live feed screen, where the chat was scrolling at lightning speed. So sweet. Caleb and Izzy cooking together. They look like newlyweds. I used to cook with her, too. The Kal-El ship is real. It has to be real. Yeah, you're right. It's real. I can't believe Isabel knows how to cook. So hot. She does. And she's pretty good at it. Poor Maya, having to watch this up close. Don't forget the other poor guy with a stomachache, being force-fed his ex-wife's new romance. Ouch. That hurts. A sudden cry from the kitchen made me look up. Caleb was holding his finger up for Isabel to see. Here we go again. Another dose of their lovey-dovey drama. A grown man acting like a baby over a little cut. I took a sip of hot water. I'd already lost my appetite for dinner. Leo, come over here and take a look at Caleb's hand. Isabel's sudden call-out made me groan. I got up reluctantly and shuffled toward them. I didn't want to go, but the cameras were already swinging in my direction. God, you gotta be kidding me. Her new boyfriend gets a paper cut, and she calls her ex-husband with a stomachache to play doctor. Isabel Thorne, you're something else. I got closer and looked at his finger. Then I looked again, and again. I could barely even see where the cut was. It hadn't even broken the skin, just a tiny scratch, less than half an inch long. What a drama queen. But the cameras were on us, so I put on my best humanitarian face. Caleb, why don't we step outside so I can bandage that for you? No, it's fine. Thanks. Caleb didn't even look at me. His eyes were locked on Isabel, a look of urgency on his face. She, however, looked thoroughly annoyed. Were the lovebirds having a fight? I needed to get out of there. Fast. Izzy, it really hurts, Caleb whined. The sound made my skin crawl. I thought only women could pull off that tone. Leo, are you going to help him or not? If you wait any longer, the wound will have already healed. Isabel snapped, stopping me in my tracks as I tried to escape. I turned back and practically dragged Caleb out of the kitchen. Let's go, man. You do not want to be around when Isabel Thorne loses her temper. After dinner, the producers had another activity for us. We were given a choice, hiking or the beach. I guess it had something to do with tomorrow's schedule. Without hesitation, I wrote hiking on my whiteboard. First, I figured most of the cast would choose the beach. It was summer. After all, the perfect excuse to show off their bodies and flirt. Second, I knew Isabel would definitely choose the beach. I wanted to be on the opposite team. 3, 2, 1. We all flipped our whiteboards over. To my shock, Isabel had also chosen hiking. I turned to look at her, and my eyes met hers. There was something in her gaze I couldn't decipher. Was she annoyed that we had picked the same thing? What made it even more confusing was that I was probably the only person who knew how much she loved the ocean. Whenever she had free time, she was at the beach, diving, surfing, collecting a whole stack of certifications. Why on earth would she choose hiking? The host voiced my confusion. Isabel, can you tell us why you chose hiking? Because, she said, her eyes finding mine again, someone once told me he wanted to go hiking with me. My mind went blank. I suddenly remembered a conversation from the first year of our marriage. I had been excited about the idea of having a child, so I'd brought it up with her. Izzy, when you have some time, we should go hiking. Maybe. Start thinking about a baby. What had her reaction been? Oh, right. We'll talk about it later, she had said, her expression cool, devoid of any excitement. All right, tomorrow's activity groups will be based on your choices. The host's voice broke through my daze. The hiking group will be Isabel Thorne and Leo Vance. The beach group will be Maya Reed, Caleb Shaw, Chloe Bennett, Dylan Roberts. I snapped back to reality, just in time to feel a vicious glare coming my way. Better to be safe than sorry. I valued my life. So, late that night, Long after the production crew had stopped filming, I quietly knocked on Caleb Shaw's door. Want to trade spots? No charge. It's on me. Caleb looked me up and down, his expression a mixture of disbelief and suspicion. Leo, you're being nice? What's the catch? What? A guy can't suddenly feel like hitting the beach. Besides, this way you get to be on a team with your Izzy. Aren't you tempted? Playing hard to get, are we? What? Don't think I haven't noticed the way you look at her, Leo, he sneered. I've lost count of how many times you've stared at her today. Let me tell you something. Isabel is mine. You should take a good look at yourself and give up. Now, I was so tired I could barely keep my eyes open, and I was in no mood for his soap opera theatrics. Enough with the drama. Are we trading or not? Fine. Caleb spat the word out through gritted teeth and then slammed the door in my face, as if he was afraid I'd change my mind. Deal done. I stretched contentedly, ready to head back to my room and crash. But I'd only taken a few steps before an arm shot out and yanked me into a dark room. Before I could even react, I was slammed against the wall. I was in Isabel's room, and she had me cornered. Leo, she breathed, her face inches from mine. Are you that desperate to get away from me? Is that it? She moved closer, her breath a warm, fragrant cloud. I turned my head away. Isabel, there's nothing between us anymore. There's nothing to get away from. Nothing between us. If it wasn't for the fact that I promised to make every decision with your happiness in mind, I never would have. Her voice was trembling with some strange emotion that made me uneasy. That, and the fact that she had me, a 6-foot-tall man, pinned against a wall, was seriously messing with my head. I instinctively tried to push back. Don't move. I could feel the heat in her gaze. Finally, gritting my teeth, I shoved her away. What the hell is your problem? Blue skies, white clouds, turquoise waves on a sandy shore. I was lounging comfortably on a beach chair, sunglasses on, sipping a fruit juice, and soaking up the sun. I congratulated myself on my brilliant decision. Hiking was exhausting. This was bliss. And even though I had a fear of water, the beach was full of beautiful women in bikinis. Wow, that girl over there had an amazing figure. Just as I was getting lost in a sea of beautiful women, a production assistant crept up to me. Leo, sir, could you please maybe do something? Give us some footage? The editors are going to kill me. I pushed my sunglasses up onto my head and saw Maya, a short distance away, holding a surfboard and waving at me. Droplets of water glistened on her toned waist. She looked at me with an expectant smile. Leo, did you see me catch that wave? I know a place you might like. Want to go? Yes. I knew this stretch of coast well. I'd come here often with Isabel. I remembered stumbling upon a small, secluded cove covered in pink seashells. It wasn't far from a main beach, but it was completely deserted. For the producers, this was a goldmine of romantic, quiet footage. Maya and I walked along the shoreline, the waves rushing in and out around our feet, making the tiny shells underfoot whisper. I glanced back and saw the camera crew filming our retreating figures with undisguised excitement. I turned forward again and discreetly switched off both mine and Maya's clip-on mics. Maya, thank you, I said softly. But I'm sure your agent told you. We're just a showmans. For the cameras. Some things were supposed to be fake, but the way she looked at me, I knew this girl was taking it seriously. It was time to set the record straight. What if I don't want it to be just for the cameras? I'm sorry. I couldn't give her what she wanted, and it was wrong to lead her on. Is it because of Isabel? I looked up, startled. You know, the girl who was always smiling, the picture of innocence, now looked completely serious. It's in your eyes. You can't hide it. I see the same thing in them that I feel. Why did everyone keep saying that? I guess I had to stop looking at Isabel from now on. There's no chance for her in me. Then what about me? Maya, you're young. You deserve better. She walked a few steps in silence, then stopped. Leo, I still want to try. The mix of innocence and determination on her face was so familiar. It reminded me of myself, right before I got married. Back then, I knew Isabel wasn't marrying me for love, but I still wanted to try. You never knew, right? I was about to say something when Maya suddenly cried out in pain and stumbled. I looked down and saw that a large, broken shell had gotten into her sandal and pierced the bottom of her foot. Dark red blood was already starting to well up. Without a second thought, I swept her up into my arms and ran back the way we came. As I passed the main production area, I caught a glimpse of the live chat on the big screen, and it was going wild. I'm freaking out. This is happening. Knock, knock, knock. The persistent sound pulled me from a deep sleep. What's wrong? I mumbled, opening the door to find Chloe Bennett, another one of the female cast members, looking panicked. Now, it's bad. Isabel thought you hadn't come back yet, and she ran out to find you. My sleep-addled brain struggled to process what she was saying. Just call her. She left her phone. It's right here. Chloe held out a phone, and on the lock screen was a cartoon character I had drawn for Isabel years ago. A headache started to bloom behind my eyes. I rushed downstairs to the main living area. Caleb was there, glaring at me, his eyes red-rimmed. "Leo, if anything happens to Izzy, you're dead." I ignored him and went straight to the director to get the story. Apparently, after Maya hurt her foot, we had come back to the villa early. I bandaged her up and then went to my room to rest. When Isabel and Caleb returned, they saw that all the beach group members were back except for me. She asked Chloe, who didn't know I was already back, and just shrugged. "Leo? Haven't seen him. I don't think he's back." Isabel then asked the production team. Since each cast member had a dedicated camera crew, the other crews didn't know my situation and also assumed I was missing. And that's when Isabel had bolted. I grabbed her phone from Chloe and expertly unlocked it with my birthday. The screen showed a weather alert from the local news. High winds and rising tide expected to begin at 7 p.m. All visitors are advised to evacuate the beach area. I rounded on the director. "Didn't any of you think to stop her?" The head director was sweating bullets. "I'm so sorry. We've already sent people out to look. It was a communication breakdown on our part. Get a car ready." "I'm going to." With Isabel missing, the production team had already concocted an excuse to cut the live broadcast. Our group headed back to the beach to search. The wind howled, and the waves crashed against the shore, each one higher than the last, like a ravenous beast devouring the sand. The beach was completely empty. I started to tremble uncontrollably, though I wasn't sure if it was from the cold or from rage. The crew's shouts were swallowed by the wind. Just as despair started to set in, I remembered. The pink shell beach. I took off, sprinting in that direction. And there, in the distance, I saw a tiny dark figure. I snatched a megaphone from a crew member's hand and screamed with every ounce of strength I had. "Isabel, I'm over here. Isabel, it's Leo. I'm here." I kept running and shouting. I saw the dark figure grow larger. She was running toward me, too. The wind whipped her long hair across her face, and it blurred my vision. Finally, a soft body crashed into mine, and I wrapped my arms around her. The feeling was so familiar, yet it brought a sense of relief I had never felt before. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I regret it. I really do," she sobbed in my chest, her arms wrapped tightly around my waist. "You scare me to death. I know you're afraid of the water," I thought. "Izzy, can we not get divorced? Please? I shouldn't have been so stubborn. I was wrong. I was so wrong." She rambled on, clinging to me. I tried to push her away gently, but she only held on tighter. "Isabel, what are you talking about? Let me go." But the rest of my words were silenced by her lips. In the dim light, I saw a tear escape from the corner of her eye, and just like that, my anger evaporated. The tide was coming in fast. I grabbed her hand and started pulling her back toward the main beach. It was only then that she noticed my limp. In my frantic sprint, I had kicked off my shoes, and just like Maya, I had sliced my foot open on a shell. "Your foot is bleeding. Come on, we have to get back," Isabel said, her voice laced with panic. Watching her fuss over me, I suddenly asked, "Isabel, are you worried about me? Isn't it obvious? You're terrified of the water. Why else do you think I came looking for you? How did you know I'm afraid of water? I saw you on set once during a water scene. You choked on some water, and I could tell. I was just passing by the studio that day." That explained it. It was true. I was a grown man who wasn't afraid of much, but I was terrified of water. The fear stemmed from a childhood accident where I almost drowned in a creek. Ever since then, I'd had a deep, irrational fear of it. I limped forward, wondering if she had really just been passing by the set that day, or if she had come specifically to see me. The thought sent a strange, sour pang through my chest. When Isabel and I walked back into the villa together, we were met with a sea of curious and probing stares. And, of course, one particularly hostile glare. I didn't have the energy to care. My foot needed immediate attention. Even so, by that night, I was running a high fever. Between that and the production team still figuring out how to handle the night's events, they decided to halt filming. This segment would be split into 2 parts, with the second half to be filmed at a later date. My agent came to pick me up in the early hours of the morning. I was barely conscious as he helped me into the back of a black SUV. Just before the car started moving, I heard the door open and someone else slide in beside me. I was too delirious to see who it was, but a familiar perfume filled the air. A gentle hand draped a blanket over me, and I sank back into a peaceful sleep. When I woke up, I was in my own bed at home. I'd sweated through the fever, and my body felt lighter, clearer. As I tried to sit up, a figure appeared at my side, helping me lean back against the pillows. "Leo, here, drink some water." I sipped the warm honey water she offered, watching as she prepared to take my temperature. It was Isabel. Her eyes were shadowed with exhaustion, and she hadn't even taken off her makeup. She looked a world away from the glamorous movie star. It reminded me of, when my mother was sick, how Isabel had stayed by her side day and night. A wave of softness washed over me, followed by a dull ache. Isabel, why are you doing this? We're divorced. I regret it, Leo. Regret what? If I hadn't promised your mom that I would respect all of your choices, I never would have signed those divorce papers. I stared at her, speechless. She took my hand, pressing her cheek against the back of it. But I was angry too, she continued. I was working so hard, filming day and night, and I came home to you handing me a divorce agreement. I thought letting you go would make you happy, but I never imagined you'd actually drift further and further away. When I saw you on the show with that girl, I was so jealous I thought I was going to lose my mind. It wasn't until last night that I realized how wrong I was. I regret it all. I never should have let you go. A hot tear fell on my hand. I cut her off. You know why I wanted a divorce. I know. Because I was always busy with filming, with work. I neglected you. I neglected our home. Ever since I saw you choke on that water on set, I understood. The industry, with its hierarchies and its cruelty, it left a scar on you. So I thought, I have to work harder. I have to win awards, gain influence. I have to become so powerful that no one will ever dare to look down on you or bully you again. It was true that the incident had made me disillusioned with the film industry, which was why I'd retreated to the stage. But I never knew that was the reason she had thrown herself so completely into her work. I was so stupid, she whispered. I completely ignored how you were feeling. Leo, can you forgive me? I was going to finish the film I'm contracted for, and then I was going to spend time with you. I was going to have a baby with you. My voice was rough. But divorcing me was what you always wanted, wasn't it? You never loved me. Who told you that? She looked up, her eyes wide and glistening with tears. Faced with that silent accusation, I suddenly understood the devastating power of an A-list actress's beauty. Didn't you only marry me to repay my mother for her kindness to you? At that, a small, watery smile broke through her tears. You idiot. Do you really think my mother would let her precious son marry someone who didn't love him? What? I was the one who asked her to let me marry you. What? I begged her, over and over again. Suddenly, paparazzi photos of me going to Isabel's room that night appeared online. I scrolled through them on my phone. The person who posted them had been clever, twisting the narrative. First, they showed 2 photos of me knocking on Caleb's door. Then, they posted a photo of me entering a room with Isabel. The implication was clear. I had shown up at the A-lister's room late at night for a hookup. The moment the photos dropped, they went viral. The comments were overwhelmingly negative. My history of wearing the same brands as Isabel was brought up again, cementing my reputation as a clout-chasing leech. Now, I was a predator who had tried to seduce their pure, White Lotus goddess. Does Leo Vance have any shame? Any self-respect at all? Get Leo Vance out of Hollywood. Who the hell do you think you are? Knocking on her door in the middle of the night. The rest of the comments were too vile to read. Then came the fans of Caleb and Maya. I feel so bad for our Izzy, being harassed by that shameless loser. Protect Isabel at all costs. Some people are just disgusting. My heart breaks for Maya. She was so good to him. Exactly. Leo's a classic case of wanting to have his cake and eat it too. Despicable. I scrolled through the comments with a blank expression. This was Hollywood. The public rarely ever sees the truth. Just as I was about to close the app, I noticed an unusual number of mentions. I clicked on it. It was a post from Caleb Shaw. Why are you trying to steal what's mine? The target of his post was obvious. His wounded tone won him a lot of sympathy from the public, and his fans flooded my mentions with insults and accusations. Faced with such a blatant provocation, I tapped the reply button. First, Isabel is not an object. She has a mind of her own. The concept of stealing does not apply. Second, I glanced up at the silhouette of the woman busy in my kitchen, took a deep breath, and continued typing. Second, she's not yours. The moment I posted that reply, it was like pouring gasoline on a fire. The flood of hateful comments nearly crashed my app. Sifting through the shameless, disgusting, and scumbag insults, I saw a new hashtag trending at #1. Hashtag Leo Vance get out of Hollywood. Isabel, who had been cooking, took a phone call. She brought out a bowl of hot soup and 3 small side dishes and placed them on the table before feeling my forehead. I have to go into the office. There's homemade chicken noodle soup simmering in the pot. Make sure you have some later. Let me handle this. You just stay here and rest. Tasting Isabel's cooking for the first time in ages, I was curious to see how she would handle the situation. I opened X. The top post was from her. Isabel Thorne. We're legally married. What's the problem? Attached was a photo of the inside of our marriage certificate. I opened the comments, and it was a sea of question marks. So they're actually married? Wait, so when she said she was there to win back her husband, she meant Leo Vance. A rush of blood went to my head. All I could think was, is Isabel insane? How could she post that? How dare she? Is she trying to throw her career away? No, I couldn't let her ruin years of hard work because of me. I tried calling her, but she didn't pick up. My only option was to post my own clarification. Leo Vance, divorced. We're divorced. Attached was a photo of the inside of our divorce certificate. The comment section exploded with even more question marks. Are they playing house or something? One fan wrote. The internet was officially confused. The gossip was too big, too convoluted to swallow in one bite. This plot is moving way too fast. Hold on, I was still processing the fact that she was married, and now they're divorced. So, is Isabel refusing to admit they're divorced? This is getting good. Grabs popcorn. The back and forth and the shocking reveals were too much for X's servers, which promptly crashed for several minutes. When the site came back online, Maya Reed had decided to join the circus. Maya Reed, so you're saying there's a chance. Hashtag fighting. I couldn't tell if it was her own idea or her agent's, but it was a smart move. The post not only got her a ton of exposure and neatly ended our on-screen pairing, but it also painted her as a lovelorn, hopeful romantic. The show's producers, seeing which way the wind was blowing, jumped into the fray. They released the full, unedited security footage from that night. The video clearly showed me knocking on Caleb's door to arrange the team swap, followed by Isabel yanking me into her room. So, when Isabel said she was on the show to win back her husband, she meant it literally. Leo trying to secretly switch teams so he wouldn't have to be with his ex-wife is hilarious. Oh my god, I'm so here for this. She's chasing him. He's running away. I ship it. Sensing a ratings goldmine, the producers doubled down. They released the entire raw footage of my search for Isabel on the beach that night. Since it wasn't part of the official filming, it had the gritty, raw feel of a documentary. I hadn't seen it myself, so I curled up on the couch with my tablet to watch. I watched myself, frantic and desperate, screaming her name into the wind. I watched us running toward each other, crashing into an embrace, kissing in the storm. If I wasn't the main character, I'd have to admit it was actually quite moving. As the final shot showed Isabel helping a limping me toward the camera, I turned on the comments. I'm crying. This is a real-life romance movie. Tears are streaming down my face. They must have divorced over some misunderstanding. You can feel how much they love each other. Get back together already. I am officially a fan of this couple. Let's call them the expired couple. They have to get remarried. I looked at the screen, flooded with comments demanding the expired couple get back together, and thought to myself, couldn't they have come up with a better ship name? By the time the video ended, I realized it was already dark. I had several missed calls on my phone, all from Isabel. Just as I was about to call her back, the front door opened. Isabel walked in, carrying several paper bags with the logo of my favorite high-end takeout restaurant. You must be starving. The meeting with the PR team ran late, and I was worried I wouldn't have time to cook, so I picked up a few of your favorites. I watched her as she slipped off her shoes and went into the kitchen, moving with a familiar ease, as if the past few months of our divorce had never happened. As if we were still just an ordinary couple. I had so many questions for her today, but now, seeing her there, I didn't know where to begin. It wasn't until she was sitting across from me, her eyes downcast as she meticulously peeled a shrimp for me, that I finally spoke. Aren't you afraid this will hurt your career? She placed a shrimp in my bowl and picked up another one. If it means my husband doesn't get pushed around, she said casually, I'd quit the business entirely. I stared down at my rice, lost for words. Caleb's team was the one who leaked the photos, she continued, and I have no problem playing his game. I wanted to ask what she meant, but she silenced me with another shrimp and told me to eat. After I was sufficiently fed, I finally had a chance to check X again. It turned out Caleb was the one with a history of late-night door-knocking. During a film they had shot together, footage had surfaced of Caleb showing up at Isabel's hotel room door late at night with a script, only for her to sternly refuse him and shut the door in his face. And that was just the beginning. More stories came out, alleging that Caleb hadn't just knocked on Isabel's door, but also on the doors of certain directors with particular tastes. It explained how an actor with mediocre talent had managed to land so many high-profile roles and become the industry's new golden boy. Once the stories broke, Caleb's reputation tanked. Hordes of fans abandoned him, unable to accept that their idol was not who he seemed. A thought suddenly occurred to me. I grabbed Isabel's arm as she was cutting fruit. Did you know about all this? Then why did you act like you were so into him? Your heart rate was off the charts. Into him? She frowned. a flicker of confusion in her eyes. During the game on the show, your heart rate skyrocketed for him. Isabel laughed as she sliced into a dragon fruit, but her voice was laced with menace. That wasn't because of him. It was because you and Maya were tangled up together and wouldn't let go. My blood pressure was through the roof. Oh, after my foot healed, the show resumed filming its second half. Caleb was gone, replaced by a new, up-and-coming young actor. Maya was still there, gracefully settling into the role of the sympathetic second female lead. The public's interest in Maya and Isabel's story was at an all-time high, and the show's ratings were phenomenal. The host, ever the instigator, turned the microphone back to Isabel. Isabel, can we ask, are you still here this week to win back your husband? Yes. The camera swung to me. Leo, what do you think? Will she succeed? I paused, a slow smile spreading across my face. Depends on her performance.